everybody that I've fought so far is going to want to try and get me down to the ground at some point. So that way they always underestimate, my other areas. I mean, they're going back and watching the fight with Matt Brown, which I think I made a lot of, improvements from then. So my wrestling, I got some of the best guys in the world I'm training with. Obviously Chris and Carlos Machado and, Ryan Hall, my buddy Matt Miller, who's an Olympic wrestler from Canada. I always visualize myself with my hand raised at the end. That's it. So what before that is kind of like an empty slate. You never know what's going to happen. Everybody's like, well, when we're around, you're going to knock him out. And I never go out looking for the knockout, because when it doesn't happen, sometimes I can mess with you, So I just let it happen. If it goes 5-minute rounds, I'm happy. But sometimes you finish it, a whole lot sooner than that, like you saw with Jake Ellenberg and Johnny Hendricks. Of course, I went 5-5s with Rory McDonald, which I was glad I went 5-5, to prove to myself and everybody else I do have the gas tank to do that. Well, every city has its own flavor. And whether you're in Brazil, where when I first gave the first show, we went back to Brazil after the show we did back in 97, 98. We finally went back a number of years ago, and the crowd was probably about 18,000 or more. And when I went into my rendition of It's Time during the main event, the entire arena, who speaks Portuguese, said "It's time" with me in my inflection and stopping at the moment I stopped. I could have for a minute. I came out of the octagon and stitched around. The cut man at the time said, "Buff, did you hear that?" I go, "What?" He goes, "The entire arena said "It's time" with you. I've never seen that ever with anybody, including your brother, with the Rumble." And it's like, I go, "I'm sorry, Stitch, I didn't hear it." Because, see, when I'm in the octagon, I'm completely focused on the fighters. I block out everything. Sure, I'm there to enhance the moment for the fans, which I try to do as best I can, throwing my passion on the octagon floor. But when I'm in my zone, it's like, and the reason I get in fighters' faces, I mean, my eyes, I don't take my eyes off them. I'm locked. I mean, I'm in front of the eye of the tiger. I'm in front of the horse at the Kentucky Derby that's spitting and snotting all over the place, ready to go out and race on that track. In this case, ready to go out and do battle and put their blood, sweat, and tears on the line. It's a very dramatic moment for me that I maintain every show. So I have to watch it on TV, and I watched it on TV, and I'm like, holy hell, he was right. That blew me away. I mean, what an amazing compliment that is. Then it started to take place. It's happening in other cities. Just recently, Manchester, the whole place lit up, saying with me, "This is the main event of the evening," as I say it, and they start repeating it in my inflection. It's an honorably wonderful thing. And then I'll go to Australia, and you'll hear that too. But it's not just them repeating back at me. Canadians, there could be 10,000. They'll sound like 40,000. Brazilians, there could be 10,000. They'll sound like 40,000. And they all have their own individual flavor of what to bring to the arena that night, as well as the fact when you travel to these great cities like Montreal, Sydney, Australia, any place in Germany, London, the restaurants, what the city has to offer. It's an amazing experience.
We've been able to establish the source of the prohibited substances, that it came from a product that John took that was not labeled with either of these substances. We had it tested. The product was contaminated with both of them. We then I know USADA also independently had the product tested. Their testing confirmed what we found. We then sent pills from the same, essentially the same pills that we had tested to be tested by USADA's lab, which also found the same thing. So pretty much every time it's been tested, it's shown that the product is contaminated with both clomiphene and letrozole, the two substances. So it should definitely lead to a significant reduction. That's our position. The way the anti-doping rules, at least with the UFC program, are written, they mirror the World Anti-Doping Code to some extent. There's some differences, but essentially, in a case like this, you can't argue that you have no fault if you take a supplement or a product that's contaminated. But you can argue that you're not significantly at fault, which gives you the ability to argue for a reduced sanction. So that the sanction range under the UFC rules would be between a warning at a minimum and of course the maximum is a year. So Romero's case similarly was a contaminated product case, and the one difference between his case and John's case is because of the substance involved in Yoel's case, the maximum sanction was 2 years as opposed to the 1 year here. So the possible sanction range in Yoel Romero's case was between a warning, the same minimum of a warning, but the maximum in his case was 2 years. USADA looked at it, and we were able to come to an agreement that 6 months was the appropriate sanction in that case.
He doesn't have any class, What can I say? He has no class. You can sell a fight, no problem, but, he's overdoing it, He would do anything for a little bit of money. Probably he's a prostitute. I don't know what the fuck he is. What can I say? If Mike Tyson talks big, that's an intimidating guy. But when you have Conor McGregor as a ginger, I don't know what the fuck he is, but with that height and that weight class, he talks like he's the big heavyweight, I don't know. He put some tiger tattoos on your belly and he's confident. I don't know what the fuck he's thinking.